My brother shoved me out of my wheelchair in the middle of our family barbecue. "Stop faking it," he said. "You're not fooling anyone." I hit the concrete hard, palms first, then my shoulder, then the side of my head. Not enough to knock me out, just enough to tilt the world sideways and leave it there. Laughter broke out around me. 50 people, maybe more, some just staring, a few already holding up their phones. I lay there, tasting blood, watching my chair tipped over a few feet away. One wheel still spinning in the heat. Derek stood above me, breathing hard, beer on his breath, anger in his eyes like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Get up," he said louder. "Show everyone." Nobody moved to help. Behind them, just past the circle of faces. A man cleared his throat. "That's my patient," he said calmly. The concrete was still radiating heat from the late afternoon sun. It burned through my shirt, through my skin, like I'd been dropped onto a stove and left there. My palms took the worst of it raw, torn open, tiny shards of gravel pressed deep into the flesh. I could feel each one like a splinter of glass. Every time I tried to move, my right leg was twisted wrong. Not broken, at least I didn't think so, but wrong enough that a sharp, electric pain kept firing up my spine in pulses. I knew that pain. I'd lived with it for 26 months. The kind that didn't just hurt, it hijacked your vision, turned the edges white, made your breath come in short, controlled bursts so you didn't black out. Around me, the barbecue didn't stop. Country music played somewhere behind the house. Someone laughed at a joke that had nothing to do with me. A kid ran past chasing a plastic ball, his sneakers slapping against the patio like nothing had happened. The smell of grilled meat hung thick in the air, mixed with cut grass and the metallic taste of blood in my mouth, where I'd bitten my tongue on impact. My wheelchair lay on its side a few feet away. One wheel, spinning slow, lazy circles, like it had all the time in the world. I tried to push myself up. My arms shook immediately, not from weakness, from pain. My palms slipped against the concrete, smearing blood. I could see it pooling in the lines of my skin, dark and thick, catching the sunlight like something artificial. "Come on," Derek said somewhere above me. "You've been milking this for 2 years. 2 years. 2 years of surgeries, metal in my spine, nerves that fired when they shouldn't and went silent when I needed them most. 2 years of learning how to sit, stand, shift, breathe, all over again. 12 hours a day in that chair wasn't comfort, it was survival. And not one person in that yard stepped forward to help me." "Look at him," Derek said, turning away from me and addressing the crowd like he was making a case in court. 2 years. 2 years of this act. Murmurs rolled through the yard, not loud, not aggressive, just enough to tell me they were listening, really listening. "You didn't see the accident," he went on. "None of you did. He just ended up at the bottom of a staircase. And suddenly he can't walk. That's convenient. I found him," my mom said from somewhere near the picnic table. Her voice was small, fragile, like it had been worn down over time. Derek didn't even look at her. "You found him after the fact. That's not the same as seeing what happened." A few heads nodded. "That was all it took. I swear I saw him on his feet." A voice cut in. My cousin Logan stepped forward, hands in his pockets, like he wasn't sure he wanted to be involved, but was anyway. "Grocery store, about a month ago, no chair, just walking." The murmuring grew louder this time, more confident. "That was physical therapy," I said, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. My voice sounded thinner than I wanted, weaker, short-distance training. "I told sure it was," Derek cut in. He kicked my wheelchair, hard. The metal frame rang out across the patio, sharp and hollow, like a bell calling everyone to attention. "Meanwhile," he continued, pacing now, feeding off the energy. "He's been sitting in Mom's house rent-free, collecting checks, ordering food, playing games, living better than half of us without lifting a finger. I have medical bills," I said. "You have excuses." He stepped closer again, crouching down so we were face to face. I could smell the beer on him, the smoke from the grill. Something bitter underneath it all. "There's a difference," he said quietly. "You just don't want to admit it." My Uncle Brent raised his phone. "Already recording. This needs to be documented," he said. "We've been enabling this too long." "Exactly," Derek said, straightening. "Today we find out the truth." I looked around the circle, at my aunt standing with her arms crossed, at my grandmother fanning herself slowly. Watching like this was entertainment. At my mom, hands clenched together, eyes red but not moving. Not one person stepped forward. Not one person said stop. They didn't just believe him. They wanted to. "Stand up." Derek's voice cut through the noise, sharp and controlled now, not yelling worse than that. Certain. I stayed where I was. "I'm not asking again," he said. "You either stand up right now, or I call the police. Disability fraud, insurance fraud, pick one. Let them sort it out." My chest tightened. Not fear. Not exactly. Just pressure. Everywhere at once. "I can't," I said. The words came out low, flat, like they belonged to someone else. Can't, Derek repeated, like he was tasting it. Then he turned back to the crowd. You hear that he can't. A few laughs, nervous this time, but still there. Stand up, someone said. Then another voice joined. Stand up, and then more. Stand up, stand up, stand up. It spread fast, 50 voices folding into one, loud and rhythmic, like a chant at a game. Like something practiced. I pressed my hands against the concrete again, tried to push. Pain hit instantly. My right leg didn't respond the way it should. The signal just didn't land. What did come back was fire sharp, electric, shooting up my spine and locking everything in place. My arms gave out. I dropped back down harder than before. The chanting got louder. Stand up. Derek grabbed the front of my shirt, fisting the fabric, hauling me halfway off the ground. My leg dragged behind me, useless weight, sending another wave of pain through my back. I'm done watching this, he said through clenched teeth. You're a liar. That's my patient. The words cut clean through everything. The chanting stopped, completely. Derek's grip loosened just enough for me to feel it. Not release, just hesitation. A man stepped forward through the circle. Mid-50s, maybe. Asian, khakis, navy polo, wire-frame glasses. Calm in a way that didn't belong in that yard. Like none of this touched him. That's my patient, he repeated. Voice even, controlled. Derek let go. I dropped back onto the concrete. The impact sending another dull shock up my spine, but I barely registered it. The air had shifted. You could feel it, like pressure breaking before a storm. Who the hell are you? Derek demanded. The man took a small sip from a can of soda in his hand, like he had all the time in the world. Dr. Adrian Park, he said, orthopedic surgeon. He let that sit for half a second. Spine reconstruction specialist. I also oversee his physical therapy and coordinate his pain management. Silence spread through the yard. Not fast, not dramatic, just creeping in, replacing the noise piece by piece. I've been treating him since 48 hours after his accident. Dr. Park continued. 26 months ago, my aunt gave a short, brittle laugh. Well, doctor, maybe you should take a closer look. Your patient seems pretty capable when nobody's watching. Dr. Park smiled slightly. It didn't reach his eyes. Actually, he said, setting the soda can down on the edge of the picnic table. I've been watching the entire time. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I arrived about 7 minutes ago, he went on, tapping the screen, and I recorded everything. From the moment I stepped into your backyard. He held the phone up, angled so the closest people could see. Derek's voice came through the speaker. Stop faking it. The sound of impact. My body hitting concrete. Laughter. The chanting. Every word. Every voice. Clean and undeniable. Dr. Park let it play just long enough. Then he stopped it. I have the push, he said calmly. The verbal abuse, the coordinated harassment, the attempt to coerce a disabled patient into physical activity that could cause further injury. His gaze moved across the crowd, one face at a time. You're not the only ones documenting today. No one spoke, no one moved. And for the first time since I hit the ground, they looked uncertain. Dr. Park turned the phone in his hand, tapped once, and held it up again, this time higher, so everyone could see. An X-ray filled the screen. This, he said, voice steady, is his lumbar spine. He zoomed in with 2 fingers. The image sharpened metal rods, clean and rigid, running alongside bone that didn't quite look like it belonged together anymore. L4 and L5 vertebrae. He continued. 4 titanium rods, 12 screws, spinal fusion surgery performed 14 months ago. Procedure took just over 6 hours. No one said anything. Even Derek didn't move. Dr. Park swiped to the next image. Here's the follow-up MRI. You're looking at severe nerve compression along the right side. Sciatic involvement. He pointed to a darker section on the screen. This area right here, that's permanent damage. He lowered the phone slightly, just enough to look directly at Derek. The reason he can stand occasionally, he said, is because we've spent the last year retraining his body in controlled environments. Parallel bars, assisted weight distribution, monitored sessions. Another swipe. A short clip this time, grainy footage from inside a rehab facility. Me, standing between metal bars, sweat running down my face, legs shaking violently as I tried to take a step. I remembered that day. I'd made it 6 steps, collapse on the 7th, right now. Dr. Park went on. He can manage approximately 43 meters before the nerve damage triggers acute neuropathic pain. He paused. Do you know what that feels like? No one answered. It feels like electricity ripping through your leg while your muscles forget how to respond, like being shocked and stabbed at the same time. There's no warning, no control, just failure. He let the silence stretch. That's why he uses a wheelchair, he said finally. Not because he wants to, because without it, he doesn't have reliable mobility. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. The brace he wears, he added, almost as an afterthought, costs $4,600, not fully covered by insurance. It stabilizes the joint. It doesn't fix the nerve. His eyes moved across the crowd again. This isn't a condition you can fake, he said, then quieter. And it's not one you get to dismiss just because it makes you uncomfortable. Dr. Park reached into his back pocket and pulled out a slim leather card holder. Since we're documenting things properly, he said, sliding out a business card, we might as well continue. He stepped toward Derek and held it out. Derek didn't take it at first, just stared at it like it might burn him. Go ahead, Dr. Park said calmly. You'll need it. After a second, Derek took the card. Laura Bennett, Dr. Park continued, partner at Whitmore and Hale, civil rights litigation. Disability abuse cases, specifically. The words landed heavier than anything that had been said so far. I'll be filing a police report first thing tomorrow morning, he went on. Assault of a disabled individual. Aggravated, given the circumstances. Followed by a civil suit for battery. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And harassment. A ripple moved through the crowd. Not murmurs this time. Panic. You can't be serious, my Uncle Brent said, lowering his phone halfway, like he'd just realized what he'd been recording. Dr. Park looked at him. I'm completely serious. He took a step back, giving the entire group his attention now, not just Derek. I have full documentation of his medical history, he said. Every scan, every procedure, every therapy session. 2 years of records that establish, beyond any reasonable doubt, the extent of his injuries. He paused. And I have this afternoon. No one interrupted. No one dared. The push, he said, counting it off. The verbal accusations, the coordinated chanting, the attempt to force him into standing under threat of legal action. All of it captured on video. His gaze shifted to Brent's phone. I also have yours, he added, which, I assume, you intended to use as evidence. Brent's face drained of color. That video, Dr. Park continued, now serves as independent corroboration. Multiple angles, multiple voices, a clear demonstration of group participation in the harassment of a disabled person. Derek swallowed hard, eyes flicking down to the card in his hand. We didn't know, he said. Dr. Park didn't react. You didn't ask, he replied. The difference hit harder than an accusation. He turned slightly, addressing everyone again. Every person who encouraged this, he said. Every person who recorded. Every person who stood by and chose not to intervene. You're all part of this now. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. This doesn't disappear because you're family, he added. If anything, it makes it worse. My mom let out a quiet, broken sound behind me. I didn't turn. Consequences are coming, Dr. Park said. Not loud, not emotional, just certain. And for the first time since any of this started, they believed it. The video hit the internet 2 days later, not the whole thing. Dr. Park had cut it down just enough to show the truth, without turning it into a spectacle. The push, the impact, Derek's voice, the chanting, that was enough. By Friday night, it had over 1 million views. By Monday morning, it crossed 3. Local news picked it up first, then regional, then national. Disabled man assaulted at family gathering. Dr. Records confrontation. Exposes truth. They didn't use my full name at first. Didn't need to. Derek's face was clear in the footage. His voice even clearer. People recognized him. His company called him in by the end of the week. Construction firm. Big on safety. Public image. They let him go before lunch. Liability, they said. His girlfriend left that same night. Packed a bag. Didn't argue. Didn't look back. By the following week, his number had stopped lighting up. No calls, no texts, just silence. Turns out people don't stick around when your name becomes searchable for the wrong reason. Every job application led back to the same clip. Every conversation circled the same question. Aren't you the guy? He lost his apartment within a month. Couldn't keep up with rent. No steady work. No one willing to take the risk. The internet didn't forget. It never does. Meanwhile, the case moved forward. Police report filed. Charges reviewed. Evidence submitted clean. Organized. Undeniable. Dr. Park's documentation. The medical records. The video from his phone. And the other footage. Phones from the crowd. Angles I hadn't even seen. Voices layered over voices. All saying the same thing. Stand up. It echoed differently when you heard it from the outside. Less like encouragement, more like a mob. The narrative flipped completely. I wasn't the guy faking an injury anymore. I was the guy who got pushed. And they were the ones everyone was watching now. My mom called me 3 weeks after the barbecue. I saw her name on my phone and let it ring twice before answering. Hey, I said. Her voice came through thin, worn down. He's not doing well. I didn't ask who. He lost the apartment, she continued. He's been sleeping in his truck. I didn't know until yesterday. He didn't tell me. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. Okay, there was a pause. The kind that stretches longer than it should. Ethan, she said carefully, he's your brother. I let that sit between us. I know. He made a mistake. I closed my eyes. No, I said. He made a decision. Another silence. Heavier this time. You're really going to let this go through? She asked. The charges, the lawsuit, all of it. I shifted slightly, adjusting my leg. The movement sent a dull ache up my spine. Not sharp, not blinding, just constant. He pushed me out of a wheelchair, I said, in front of 50 people. I know. And nobody stopped him. My voice stayed even. No rise, no break. They clapped. Mom. She didn't respond. They stood there and clapped while I was on the ground. I added, I tried to stop it. She said quickly. You heard me. I said something. You asked him to stop. I corrected. That's not the same thing. Her breath caught. Just slightly. I didn't know what to do, she said. That's the problem, I replied. I sat there for a second, letting the quiet settle again. I didn't ask you to take out a second mortgage, I said. She hesitated. I didn't want you to struggle. I am struggling, I said, every day. That doesn't mean I needed you to bankrupt yourself, trying to fix something that can't be fixed. I'm your mother, she whispered. That's what I'm supposed to do. And he used that against me, I said. I could picture it clearly. Derek standing there, listing out numbers, turning my life into a balance sheet, making it sound like I'd chosen this, like I'd optimized for it. You let him believe that, I added. You let all of them believe it. That's not fair. No, I said quietly. It's accurate. She didn't argue after that, just breathed on the other end of the line. He's asking if you'll talk to the prosecutor, she said finally. Explain that it was a misunderstanding, that things got out of hand. I let out a slow breath. It wasn't a misunderstanding, I know. But if you just said I'm not the one pressing charges, the state is, I know. But your statement matters. Your testimony matters. You could help him. I looked down at my hands. The cuts on my palms had started to close. Thin lines now. Still tender. Still there. I helped him already, I said. She didn't understand. I answered his calls after the surgery. I continued, left him updates, invited him to appointments, gave him every chance to see what was actually happening. I paused. He didn't show up. I didn't know that, she said. Exactly. That word landed harder than anything else I'd said. He decided what I was before he ever asked me. I went on. That's not confusion. That's choice. My mom started crying then. Quiet at first, then less controlled. I just don't want to lose both my sons, she said. You didn't lose me, I replied. Then help me fix this. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. This isn't something I fix, I said. This is something he lives with. That's your brother. And I'm the one he pushed, I said. Silence again. Longer this time, so that's it, she asked. You're just going to let his life fall apart. I thought about that for a second. About the video. About the job he lost. The apartment. The silence that followed him now. No, I said finally. I'm not doing anything to him. I let the words settle before finishing. I'm just not stopping what he started. She didn't say goodbye. Just hung up. I sat there for a while after the call ended. Not angry. Not satisfied. Just still. This wasn't what winning was supposed to feel like. There was no relief, no sense of closure, just the quiet understanding that some things don't go back to the way they were, no matter how much you want them to, and some lines, once crossed, stay that way. I saw Derek again 6 months later, not at court, not through a screen, not in some headline, in person. I was at a rehab facility across town, different place from where I'd started, smaller, more specialized. They had newer equipment, better nerve stimulation programs, less noise. I just finished a session, legs shaking, shirt damp, that familiar mix of exhaustion and controlled pain settling in. I rolled into the lobby. He was sitting there, thinner than I remembered, shoulders a little hunched, no phone in his hands, no one around him, just sitting, staring at nothing. He saw me, started to stand, then stopped, sat back down like he'd caught himself doing something he didn't have the right to do anymore. I wheeled closer. What are you doing here? I asked. My voice came out neutral. No edge, no warmth. Community service, he said. Court ordered? I nodded once. Figures. I'm working in the rehab wing, he added quickly, helping with mobility sessions. Basic stuff. Transitions. Balance support. Moving patients between stations. I didn't respond. I didn't think you'd be here, he said. I transferred last month. He nodded like that meant something. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said it. I've been meeting people. I waited. People like you, he went on. Spinal injuries, nerve damage, chronic pain. Some of them look normal until they try to move. His voice tightened slightly on that last part. They try to stand, and it just doesn't work. Or it works for a second, then everything shuts down. I said nothing. I didn't know, he said. It wasn't dramatic. No build-up, just a statement. I didn't try to know, he added after a second. That part mattered more. I looked at him. Really looked this time. There was no anger in his face. No righteousness. No performance. Just wait. I get it now, he said. Or at least I'm starting to. I leaned back slightly in the chair. Do you? I asked. He didn't flinch. No, he said. Not completely. I don't think I ever will. That was the first honest thing he'd said. I've been working with the guy, he continued. Late 40s, construction accident, fell from a scaffold, crushed 2 vertebrae. He can stand for about 3 minutes before his leg gives out. He swallowed. I thought of you the first time I saw it happen. I didn't react. He smiled through it, Derek said, like it was normal. Like that kind of pain was just part of the routine. He looked down at his hands. I used to think you were comfortable, he said quietly. Sitting there, not working, not trying. He shook his head. I was wrong. I let that sit. I know, I said. He looked up at me then, not defensive, not arguing, just accepting it. I'm sorry, he said. No excuses, no justification, just those 2 words. I'm sorry I pushed you, he went on. I'm sorry I called you a liar. I'm sorry I stood there and turned everyone against you. His voice didn't crack. It didn't need to. I thought I was doing the right thing, he added. I thought I was protecting Mom. I thought I was exposing something. He paused. I was just angry. There it was. Not righteousness, not truth, anger. I didn't understand what it cost you, he said. Not just physically, everything else. I looked at him for a long second. You didn't want to, I said. He nodded. Yeah, no argument, no defense, just agreement. That mattered more than anything else he could have said. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued. I know that's not something I get to ask for. He hesitated. But I am trying, he said. Every day, I'm here. I'm trying to understand, to be useful, to do something that doesn't make things worse. I believed him. Not because of what he said, because of how he said it. No pressure behind it, no expectation, just fact. I see that, I said. His shoulders dropped slightly. Not relief, just acknowledgement. Does it change anything, he asked. I thought about that, about the barbecue, the concrete, the voices, the chant, about him grabbing my shirt, pulling me up like I was something to prove, about everything that came after. Yes, I said. He looked at me. It changes what I think of you now, I continued, not what you did. He nodded slowly. That's fair. I shifted the chair slightly, turning toward the exit. We're not the same people we were that day, I said. He let out a breath. No. I glanced back at him once. Different, I said. He gave a small, tired nod. Different. I rolled out of the lobby without saying anything else, and this time he didn't try to follow. A year later, Derek asked me again. We were at a different clinic this time. I'd moved my treatment to a specialized nerve center on the north side. Better equipment, better results. Still the same pain, just managed differently. He was there when I got in, not waiting for me, working, helping a patient transfer from a chair to a set of parallel bars. Slow, careful movements, one hand steady at the shoulder, the other guiding the hip, no rushing, no shortcuts. I watched for a second before he noticed me. He finished the transfer first. Made sure the guy was stable, asked him a question I couldn't hear, waited for the answer. Then he turned, saw me, walked over. Hey, he said, hey, no tension, no edge, just neutral. How's the knee, he asked. Better, I said, still unstable under load. He nodded, like he understood exactly what that meant, because now... He did. We stood there for a moment. Then he asked, do you forgive me? Same question, different weight. I didn't answer right away. I looked at him, at the way he carried himself now. Not defensive, not loud. No need to fill space with words. Quieter, more aware. I thought about everything that had happened. The fall, the surgery, the months of rehab, the barbecue. Him standing over me, the chanting, the video, the court dates, the silence after, the way my life had split cleanly into before and after, and the way his had too. I forgive you for not understanding, I said finally, for not asking questions, for deciding what was true without ever checking. He didn't move, didn't interrupt. I forgive you for believing I was lying, I added. A small breath left him. Not relief, just recognition. I held his gaze. I don't forgive you for what you did that day, I said. His eyes didn't drop. I don't forgive you for pushing me. I continued, for humiliating me, for choosing that moment of all moments to turn me into something to prove. He nodded, slow, deliberate, I know, he said. I don't know if I ever will, I added. That's fair, he replied. And it was. No argument, no push, no attempt to negotiate something he hadn't earned. I let the silence sit between us. It wasn't uncomfortable, just real. I see what you're doing now, I said after a moment. The work, the way you show up here, the way you handle people. He didn't respond. I see that you've changed, I continued. That landed. I could see it in the way his shoulders shifted, not pride. Just wait, being acknowledged. But don't turn me into the reason for that, I said. He blinked once. I'm not your lesson, I added. I'm not the thing that taught you empathy. His jaw tightened slightly. You changed because you decided to, I said. Not because of me, he nodded. You're right, no hesitation, no defensiveness, just acceptance. That matters, I said. He looked at me, searching for something in my face. Does it make things better? He asked. I shook my head. No, I paused. But it makes them different. That word stayed there, between us. Not better, not fixed, not healed, different. I shifted my chair slightly, turning toward the hallway. That's enough, I said, and for the first time it felt true. 2 years after that day, I stood on a stage in Austin, Texas, looking out at a room full of people who understood something my family never did. Wheelchairs, canes, braces, invisible pain behind steady faces. The conference was about disability rights, advocacy, documentation, accountability. Dr. Park had recommended me. At first, I almost said no. I wasn't interested in telling my story to strangers. I wasn't interested in turning one of the worst days of my life into something people could clap for. But then I thought about the people sitting in rooms like this people who were still being told they were faking, exaggerating, looking for attention. People who didn't have a Dr. Park standing behind them. So I said yes. I kept the speech simple. I told them what happened, the accident, the surgery, the months of learning how to exist in a body that didn't respond the way it used to, the barbecue, the push, the voices, the chanting. I didn't dress it up, didn't soften it, didn't try to make it inspirational, just true. When I finished, the room stayed quiet for a second. Then someone started clapping, then more, then everyone who could stand did. The sound filled the room, echoing off the walls, louder than anything I'd heard that day on the patio, but it felt different. Not like pressure, not like demand, just recognition. Afterward, a woman in her early 30s rolled up to me. Multiple sclerosis, she said, like she needed to explain why she was there. I nodded. My family thinks I'm making it up. She continued. They say I just need to push through it, that I'm not trying hard enough. I'd heard that before. You have documentation, I asked. 3 neurologists, MRIs, everything. Then make them look at it, I said. Don't argue, don't defend, just put the truth in front of them. Her hands tightened in her lap. What if they still don't believe me? I held her gaze. Then you stop trying to convince them, I said, and you start protecting yourself. She blinked. Your pain isn't a debate, I added, and it's not your job to make it easier for people to accept. Her eyes filled. I didn't think about it like that, she said. Most people don't, I replied. She hugged me before she left. Held on longer than most people do. 3 years after the barbecue, my mom called again. They want to have Thanksgiving, she said. Small, just immediate family. I already knew where this was going. They're hoping you'll come. Did they apologize? I asked. Silence. That answered it. They feel bad, she said. That's not the same thing. They don't know what to say. They knew what to say that day, I replied. Another pause. Longer. He'll be there, she added. Derek, I know. They've changed. I thought about that. About what change actually looks like. Not words. Not silence. Action. Ownership. Specificity. Tell them this, I said, if they want me there. They apologize. Not in general. Not if we hurt you. Specific. For what they did. Each person. Each action. That's a lot to ask. No, I said. It's the minimum. She didn't argue. Didn't agree either. Just took it in. A week later, 3 people reached out. My Aunt Carol sent a handwritten letter, 5 pages, detailed, specific, no excuses. My cousin Emily, she was a kid back then, hadn't joined in, sent a card and a donation receipt to a disability organization. And Derek came by. Didn't call first, just knocked. When I opened the door, he was standing there, holding a folder. I've been working at the clinic full time, he said. Not just community service anymore. I didn't say anything. These are letters, he added, handing me the folder. From patients I've worked with, people who said I helped them. I asked if I could show you. I took it. Didn't open it yet. I'm not asking for anything, he said. I just wanted you to see that I'm different now. Different. That word again. I'm sorry, he continued, for all of it. Not just that day. Everything leading up to it. He didn't rush it, didn't try to fill the silence after. That mattered. You can come in, I said. We talked for a while, not about forgiveness, about reality. When he left, I opened the folder, read every letter, 12 of them. Each one said the same thing, in different ways. Patience, consistency, understanding. None of it erased what happened, but it proved something else. People can change. Not always. Not easily, but sometimes. And sometimes, that has to be enough. I never went to that Thanksgiving. Maybe one day, maybe not, but I stopped trying to convince people who had already decided who I was. And I started choosing who had access to me, because that's the part no one tells you when you're the one who gets pushed. You don't just learn how to get back up, you learn who's worth standing for. This story is a fictionalized narrative inspired by real-world issues surrounding disability, family dynamics, and personal accountability. It is intended for educational and storytelling purposes only.